Okay, so welcome everybody to the Financial Advisory Webinar Series. That is myself, for those of you who don't know me, but I know there's many of you on the call so far that I know, and that's awesome. I love to see the support. I love to see the excitement and the enthusiasm, and to know that people are actually learning from this and loving it, as well as, of course, it gives a chance for the apps to, highlight what's new with them as well too, which is great. So that's myself, Tanya Hiltz. I am a certified professional bookkeeper and the founder of Tanya's Bookkeepers Bootcamp and Cloud Bookkeeping Services. There's the about me. I'm not going to run through all of this. You can certainly read it if you like. Most of you who know me know about all of this, but a couple of things to point out is that we are Intuit's Global Firm of the Future 2018, which was a pretty big deal. And most recently, our Bookkeepers Bootcamp qualified for continuing education credits in 2018. So that was a huge deal, that our professional designation found that that it was educational enough to qualify for 24 credits, which is, yeah, like you said, that's a pretty big deal in there. So I like to share that one out. So continuing education credits, we have submitted for this to be approved for continuing education credits. Because it's summer, everything slows down in the summer. We have not received confirmation back either way, so we know it's still there. They just haven't got to review it, because all of the members on the team need to go ahead and review and give their feedback. I have not had any webinars that have been declined for continuing education credits. So we're going to go forward on the assumption that it is going to be approved. So in order to receive your credits, there will be 2 polls that must be answered in order to qualify for the credits. So we'll run those. I will give you time, but please make sure that you're paying attention to be able to answer the polls. The poll questions are not information that you're going to have to remember from the webinar. It's just to make sure that you're still there and kind of paying a little bit of attention. So there's no real right or wrong answer to them, so you won't be graded on that. So don't worry about that. But again, both polls must be answered. The recording of the webinar, along with some attachments. I know Joey's given me attachments for the slides. There's, some links. There's a whole bunch of stuff that he sent me. That'll be sent out, emailed within 2 days. Zoom, I've not been able to figure out the timing for that. So when I put 2 days, it could go at any time from 12:01 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow to kind of the next day. There doesn't seem to be any consistency with it, so you'll get it tomorrow afternoon or probably the morning of the day after at the latest. And certificates for the continuing education credits will be emailed generally they're emailed within 2 weeks. As of now, we still have not received confirmation. So again, as soon as we get them, they'll be sent out. Excuse me. So here's the schedule. Right now, it's August 26th, and we're at LivePlan. Just a quick reminder that after LivePlan, because of Labor Day is next Monday. The Monday after that, I'm actually at the Accounting and Finance Show in Toronto. So I'll be speaking there. So if anybody's there, make sure you look for me, say hello. And then the week after, we have a conference in Ottawa for the IPBC. So we didn't want to hold any of those weeks up. So with that, we are taking a break after today. The next one will be September 23rd. So, don't worry when you don't see for the next 3 Mondays. That is intentional. Okay, so that is it. I will let Joey from LivePlan take over now. And that's great. So just share your screen and take right over.
All right, let's start this. Okay. There we go. You should be able to see everything now. Let me make this full screen. Okay, all right. You guys are able to see everything? Perfect. So, so LivePlan, I'll be covering that. And I also wanted to cover not just the software, but this program that we've developed specifically for strategic advising, which is basically, if you want to go into the realm of providing business advisory services, then not only is LivePlan a software platform for that, but we've also developed a whole program and methodology around that. So I'll be covering that as well as the software. We'll get in, we'll do a demo, I'll show you everything, show you how it works, but then I also want to cover this methodology that we've developed to kind of give you an idea of how to use the software in an advising sense. All right, so yeah, that's a photo of me. Just a little bit of background information before I start about myself. My name is Joey O'Shaughnessy. I am the Strategic Advisor Channel Manager here for LivePlan at Palo Alto Software. And like I said, we'll be doing a LivePlan method overview and a little bit of software demonstration. If you want to learn more, obviously, we'll have this link sent out at the end as well, but that's the landing page specifically for our strategic advisors and the strategic advisor program. All right, and I want to give a little bit of background information about the product and about us as a company before we jump into the software. So just a little bit of background here. We as a company, really, we started in business planning. So we've been in business for over 20 years. Our initial software, initial product was a product called Business Plan Pro, which is a desktop product. And it's that sort of, we use that to then launch a website called bplans.com. That's our online presence. It's all for business owners who, or someone who's planning a business. They want to go into that realm. And so we have a bunch of content for that. And that really drives viewers to bplans and to LivePlan. We get about 1 million entrepreneurs per month going to that site looking for information. And we drive them to LivePlan. But we also drive those people to our strategic advisors and our what we call our expert advisors, which are strategic advisors offering advising through LivePlan. So we don't just drive them software. If they're looking for professional advice, we drive them. We have some landing page that we drive them to. Through this, our founder created what we call lean planning methodology, and he's been teaching that. And all of this rolled into LivePlan. And so we launched LivePlan in 2012. We wanted to move away from the desktop software and desktop space into the cloud. And so LivePlan is a software as a service tool set, launched in 2012. Its general scope is to help business owners with the planning aspect of their business, but that covers everything from financial forecasting to pitching if they need to find financing. There's benchmark data in there that they can get that compares to industry standards, so they can compare their projected or actual benchmarks to industry standards for their area. There's also a dashboard tool, which is for the ongoing management side of their business. There they can compare between their financial forecast and their ongoing actuals, and they get that from QuickBooks Online, from Xero. We're also building out an integration with QuickBooks Desktop. We'll be doing that. That'll be launching actually pretty soon here in the fall. And so that's kind of a little bit about our company. And then wanted to cover the kind of business owner that we've designed LivePlan for. So LivePlan, obviously, it's built with a small business owner in mind. This is our target persona. He's Garrett. He is the owner of a business called Garrett's Bike Shop. Garrett, he knows how to, his background is obviously in bikes. He knows how to build, repair, sell bikes. He comes from a parts manufacturing background. So he's an expert in bicycles, and he loves talking with customers about it, finding the right bike for their needs. What he really doesn't know is the financial side, right? He got into business because he loves what he sells, not really because he loves looking at a P&L statement, not because he loves analyzing his cash flow every month, not because he likes to look at a balance sheet. That's where he needs help. So he either needs help in, running his business plan, in managing cash flow, tracking goals, forecasting, all of that. And Garrett, when he needs that help, he might go to his accountant right away, bookkeeper. He needs an advisor, right? And so we've developed LivePlan, obviously, around Garrett, But Garrett, we know that, and we know this from talking with all of our customers, we know that once Garrett gets his business up and running, once he's past the planning stage, he's going to have a lot of questions that we ourselves can't answer. He's going to need a lot of help, and that's where the strategic advising phase comes in. And then a little bit more about that. Whoops. So we did a poll of about 500 small business owners who mentioned that they were likely to seek an accountant's help within the next year. And we asked them, if you could get help in one area of your business right now, what would it be? Obviously, there is, and again, this is the type of help that they're looking for from an accountant. So these are people who are seeking an accountant right now, need business help. And you can see there's tax, there's accounting, bookkeeping, those type of things come up. But then there's forecasting, there's business management, financial help, planning, marketing, right? So they don't think of the accountant as just someone that's going to help them with the compliance stuff, someone that's going to help them with the accounting and bookkeeping and all of that. But they also want a coach. They want an advisor, and that's what they expect out of an accountant. So the need is there. Your business clientele, they already think that you're offering these services right now, and that's sort of what they expect. And then with that, we designed the LivePlan method. Whoops. So LivePlan method is this plan, this methodology that we have about using LivePlan as a management tool and an advising tool. And it's basically how you can use it as an accountant and offer it as a service to your clients. So the next part of this, I'm going to give a little bit of a feature overview. I'm going to say that this is going to be just like top level, and these are just some slides coming up that go over the various areas of the software. I'm going to jump into the software after this, but I want to kind of set up and look at these just at a top level to give you an idea of what the software looks like and what each feature does before we actually jump in and go hands-on. So at an overview, there are basically 6 main areas of the software. We have the pitch, plan, forecast, benchmarks, the schedule, and then the dashboard. And the pitch, so again, we'll go into these a little bit more, but pitch is basically for a lean business plan. It's overview, top level stuff, it's brief, it's just kind of at a glance, important stuff about the business. The plan, that's the more formal business plan. As an advisor, you're probably not going to work in this all that much, but it's there in the software in case your clientele need any help with writing a business plan or anything like that. Take a sip of water here. The forecast, obviously that's for developing a financial forecast. So revenue, expenses, projected profit and loss, balance sheet, cash flow, that's all in there. Benchmarks, we get that from SageWorks. They make a product called Profit Sense, and that is an aggregation of industry data that is limited to North America, so US, I should say, and that covers, and we'll look at that, but it basically covers some top-level KPIs, and those are broken down by industry and then by location in the US as well as company size. Schedule, that's where you can put in some milestones and deadlines. And then the dashboard, and the dashboard's going to be huge. Forecast and dashboard are probably where you guys would be spending most of your time. Dashboard gives you a overview and a comparison between how you're actually doing versus what you forecasted. And so it gives you kind of the KPIs, the reporting that you might be looking for, but also that comparison to make sure that your clients are meeting their goals, they're on track, and if not, you take a look and you see what needs to be adjusted, etc. Now, in terms of the advisor, this is what these tools, these features look like. So pitch, again, business overview, but it's the lean plan. It's probably where you're going to start with your client in developing that pitch to get an idea of their needs and all of that. And then we have the plan. Again, probably not for what you guys are going to be doing, but it's there. the forecast. So you can develop a 3 or 5 year lean forecast and model. Schedule, that's really for setting up business goals. And then benchmarks and scoreboard, that is where the monthly advising is going to come in. Those features are going to come in where you're going to be able to review, report, all of that with your client and develop and give them, some take homes and all of that. So let's jump in and look at the dashboard. Yeah, so the dashboard, again, let me go over here. So at a glance, this is kind of what this looks like. It comes with various reports that you can run through, and we'll jump into these and take a look. But it allows, really the important thing about the dashboard, that it gives your clients bite-sized information that they understand, right? This is not super in-depth. It's not overwhelming. It's not, it's not going to be something that your client will look at and just won't understand. It's easy for them to understand. It's easy for them to look at. It's easy for them to run this on their own. They can, because you can invite them to the software if you want to, and they can take a look at this and they can see this all on their own, and it's easy for them. And that's kind of, again, we wanted to make this easy for both the advisor and the client to know and to understand and to use. And then the benchmarks. So this gives you an idea of some of the benchmarks that we have, gross margin, operating margin, net profit margin, et cetera. So some top level KPIs that we can provide. They're broken down by the industry, by the NAICS code. I'll show you what this looks like, but basically if you know the NAICS code offhand, you can just type it in, or you can type in some industry keywords and then we'll find it for you. You can do it by region and then company size. These are just about half of the benchmarks that we have. And if you notice, it compares not only between their actual results, but also their benchmark results. So they can get a comparison between what they benchmarked and how they're actually doing and see how those compare. And then, so this is the pitch. This is, again, the idea of lean planning. And if you notice, it's kind of simple. It's just top level. So you come in here, you get an idea of what their goals are, what their strategies are, what, the problem within the market that they're trying to solve, who they sell to, what their target market looks like, their competitors, just at a top level, get them in there. They can work on this on their own. They can fill this out, which can be good because it gets them, especially if they're in the early stage of their business, and maybe some of these things aren't as well defined, it kind of gives them that process for defining them. And then obviously, the next big one is going to be the forecasting. So forecast broken down into a couple areas: revenue, expense, assets, taxes. All of that can be forecasted as financing, cash flow. And within the forecast, it will develop a profit and loss, balance sheet, and cash flow for them. One thing I didn't mention in the dashboard, which you might have seen in the screenshot, is that within the dashboard, we also have these available. So the profit and loss, the balance sheet, and the cash flow are reports that can be ran within the dashboard as well. So they can get comparisons between how they're actually doing and what they forecasted in their financial statements as well. And then with that, the other big thing is, so there's this cash flow modeling that is built into the forecast too. So they can set in some, they wanted to, they can adjust their accounts receivable, accounts payable. There's also an inventory slider down below where they can see this information. And this allows them to get an idea of how these type of things can adjust their cash flow on a month-to-month and year-to-year basis. And they're quick, they're easy. I will say we are going to be expanding this. So right now, if you notice, this just goes at a top level. So AR, AP, what we will be building out very soon is the ability to run these by revenue item, and then on the flip side by expense and COGS. So they would actually have the ability to set an accounts receivable rate per revenue stream or AP per expense. So it gives them a lot of customization. And that way they can kind of play around with these settings and they can see how this impacts their cash flow going forward and what that would look like. So that's the feature set at a glance. Again, we're gonna actually jump into the software here next and take a look at that and see what this all looks like and actually go through the process of what this can be and building out a forecast and going through the dashboard as if you had a client. But that's just kind of at a glance. So that would bring us to a good stopping point for our first poll question.
Awesome. Okay, so let me just launch it right now. So just a quick question. Have you or a client you advised used LivePlan before? Yes or no? Again, no right answer. Just statistical informational purpose. So we're at 70% voted. So we're moving up to almost over 80. So this is great. Lots of interaction. So just a quick repeat of the question. Have you or a client you've advised used LivePlan before? Yes or no? So we're at 82% voted. So we'll give another 10 seconds here for somebody to vote. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so here's the results. Everybody wants to see. So there's some yeses. So there's some great and lots of no's.
That's actually, yeah.
Lots of new people to be able to see what you offer. So
exactly, yeah, that's good. That's exciting.
Yep, perfect.
I'd rather be presenting this to people who have no idea what this is than a bunch of people who do. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so just before we go on, there was actually one question that popped up here so far, which is, and I'm not sure where this goes back to because I just noticed this, but I know it was when you covered, and again, you may be covering this when you go a little more in depth, but it's Dominique says, per chart of account, revenue account aggregated by period. I'm not sure if that makes sense or not.
Are we talking like within the financial forecast? Are they? Or not, it might, yeah, it might, if we actually get into the software, that might answer the question.
Okay, so Dominique, so yeah, we'll just kind of, pause that. Oh, she said on the last slide. So yeah, and you'll be going into that more in depth though, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So we'll go into that more in depth, and then if it hasn't been answered, Dominique, then just let us know. And again, for the questions, it's, put them in chat or in the Q&A. It's a little easier for me to track if they're in the Q&A to make sure they don't get lost because I can flag them until we answer them. So Q&A would be great, but I will be checking the slide in case, or the chat in case they're in there as well. Perfect. All right. Go on, Joey. Thank you.
Awesome. So at this point, we're going to jump into the software. So let me go over here and get logged in. And I'm going to give you an idea of kind of what this all looks like. I already have a financial forecast that has been built out. Let's go here. Okay, let's see here. That a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, so I'll kind of go through this in the process that you might work on this with your client. And again, we're going to go into the LivePlan method a little bit more in depth towards the end, and I'll show you and can explain what that process looks like. But usually within LivePlan, you're probably going to start within the dashboard. And that's because LivePlan can connect to an accounting solution, and so you can bring in their financial data with them. Now, if they're using QuickBooks Online and Xero, we sync with those right now. And then the other big one that we're going to be bringing in is QuickBooks Desktop. So we're running, we're beta testing that right now as we speak. We're probably going to have this live, hopefully, by November before QuickBooks Connect. So we'll be able to connect with QuickBooks Desktop in case you have any desktop clients. The way this works, and we can actually, let's see. I just made a little demo account that we can sync here, and we can do that. But basically, we'll go through this. So when you connect to the accounting solution, there we go. So you can choose which one. We'll do QuickBooks, continue, yep. All right, so I'm gonna log in here really quick. I'll show you guys what this looks like. So, and while I'm doing that, let me explain this. So the nice thing is, now I already have a forecast built out, so I won't be able to see this just yet. But if you do this right away, and this is why I mentioned in the beginning, if you create a new plan for your clients and sync with the dashboard right away, we'll actually be able to pull in their QuickBooks Online data and create a financial forecast for them. And so that way it gives you a good starting point. So we're going to connect this. here. This might take a second. Sorry, it's connecting off screen, but.
Okay, well, while we're waiting it to connect, actually, we've got some questions that can probably be very quickly answered. Does LivePlan connect with Sage Accounting?
It does not connect with Sage Accounting. So that would probably be the next one for QuickBooks Desktop that we'll look into. So just right now, QuickBooks Online, Xero, and then pretty soon QuickBooks Desktop. Those are the three that we'll offer integration with.
Okay, perfect. And then are the KPI ever going to be Canadian based? For like, based on
probably talking about the benchmark. So with the benchmark data, yeah, it's US only right now. That could change. The data provider that we get this from, SageWorks, they do have some international data. It's just not nearly as built out as the US data. So it's hard for us to use because it's just pretty incomplete. But we're hoping that we'll be able to integrate that for not just Canada, but then Europe as well. So UK, and then maybe Oceania and those other areas. Because they do collect some data. It's just last time we looked at it, wasn't really complete for us to use.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
Let's see. Timed out. Let me give this one more try. If that doesn't work, we can just kind of skip this. Sometimes, unfortunately, on our environments, they don't like to play well, just because we have our LivePlan accounts are set up quite differently than what you guys would look, than yours would be.
And of course, it's only because we're live and recording, right?
Of course. It won't work when we're live. Yeah, if I tried this in incognito mode, it would probably work. This happens sometimes with our internal accounts. They're set up differently, so they don't always behave very well. But anyway, so if this did sync, what you would see is it would bring up a bunch of data just like it did now. And this is all manually entered. So there's a manual data entry process for this as well. So if your clients aren't using QuickBooks Online or Xero, there is a way to manually enter the data. What would happen is you get an option to map their accounts. So if this was the first thing they did and they don't have a forecast already created, it would create the forecast entries for you based on your chart of accounts. So whatever income accounts are in QuickBooks Online or Xero, those are now revenue items in the forecast. Whatever expense accounts, those are now expense items in their forecast. So we're creating that for you to give you a starting point. And then we'll also populate data with those as well. So when we look at their last year worth of data, and it's based on a setting in LivePlan. So here in the options, they can use a start date, and that determines when their forecast starts. So we look at 1 year prior to that, and we bring in that data, and then we copy it across for the forecast. So whatever their data, if they had this new bikes, right, if this was an income account in their chart of accounts, we would copy that across. And it gives them a starting point. So, this January 19, we would look at January 2018 data, we'd populate it here. February 2019, we'd February 2018 data, etc. And the idea is it gives you a starting point to then base your forecast off of. So instead of having to look at their chart of accounts in QBO and kind of see, okay, what did they do last year? And let's kind of grow up from there. It gives you a starting point. Now, if they already have a forecast set out, it will give you a mapping option, and that's where you can choose to map their forecast entries to their corresponding QuickBooks or Xero accounts. Now, I will say this, if they have quite a complicated chart of accounts, that process can be a little tricky. It works a little bit better if they sort of think about, or if you think about, it's not necessarily, if they have 100 income accounts, you don't really want to track that when you're developing a forecast. That's really not what's important. You probably want to create categories for that. So you can sync multiple LivePlan accounts or map multiple LivePlan accounts to one QBO account. So it will give you that option. That way, if they have something that's very complicated, I mean, I used to work at QuickBooks, and I saw some awful chart of accounts, and some people would put in. There's a trucking company that I remember they put in their individual trucks as expense accounts, and they had like 100 trucks in their fleets, and each one was its own, I think, an expense account. And they did it that way for whatever reason, created this garbage, this mess. So if they have something like that, they can create a little bit more of a consolidated forecast in LivePlan, and that might be better instead of syncing and pulling in all of that. So once they're connected, this dashboard gives them some oversight and overview into some of the trends in their business. So this page right here is just a general overview. If they select into the trends here, this will allow them to actually look at the individual reports and metrics that they can look at. So it covers revenue, expenses and costs, revenue breakdown. We have some of the more, so if they want to see a little bit more detail. And again, what this shows them is a comparison between their forecast and then how they're actually doing. And it also shows like the previous year and the change between there. And that way they can kind of see that comparison. And again, we have this for like the expense and cost breakdown, things like that. We do have some of the balance sheet accounts in there as well. So you can see like an asset breakdown, you can see debt, accounts receivable, things like that. Now, if they're using classes, so if they're using QuickBooks, QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop, and they have classes, we can run some class-based reports. Now, right now, the forecast in LivePlan doesn't have a class system, so there's no way to create classes in the forecast. So it wouldn't give you a comparison between classes that you've created in the forecast versus classes from QuickBooks Online. But what these reports will show is classes that they've already set up in QBO. And actually, that trend is not going to run because this is all manual. So I won't be able to see that just yet. But they will be able to get some of that class data. And so you can see they can run it by type and class, or they can run it by class and type. So it would show their classes at an overview first, and they expand on those, and they'd see each one of their expense accounts. Or the opposite, it would show their expense accounts, they expand on those, and it would show the classes and the class breakdown. So again, we have full financial statements here. So profit and loss, balance sheet, and cash flow. So this is great. They can actually see a comparison between these. And then they can download and print these off. Now, the mapping, so again, if we had, if this was connected with QuickBooks, this would show us and allow us to map. This is probably not going to load because it's not connected right now. But the mapping would give us that way to choose, pick and choose. And so even after the auto forecast, they can adjust the mapping as well. That can be done. And then let's see here. So they can run these reports as well as they can download and print these off. So if you want to deliver them monthly reports, things like that, you can download this as a PDF. You can edit this and choose to include which of these reports comes in. I'll say this is a common thing that comes up sometimes, and that is, can this overview be customized? No, the overview itself can't be customized. So it's sort of a what you see is what you get. But if you're going to be presenting this data to them, to your clients, you want to give them something that is customized, you can choose to ignore the overview, and then you can choose which reports are included. So based on your client's needs, they're probably going to want to see different things. Different things are going to be important to them. So you can choose which one of these to print off, and that will give you something to deliver to them. You can run this for multiple periods. So you can run this for a month, for a whole year. You can choose how this is compared. So you can choose to compare it to the forecast, or if you want, you can choose to compare it to the previous period and previous years. So that would just be actuals being compared to the last year actuals or last period actuals. So that is the dashboard at a glance. The other big thing, and I have this up here, so we do have co-branding available as well. That's why you see this logo up here. That was a little demo logo I gave. The other big feature that you're going to be spending a lot of time in is definitely the forecast. So again, if they started from QuickBooks Online or zero and they pulled in, that was the first thing they did, we would have a forecast already made for them that you would then adjust. So you would see something like this with data already populated, and then you can go in here and change these around. Or if not, this will give you a blank forecast and you can start from scratch. The way to use this is very easy. So, if we just wanted to edit the financial forecast, it's pretty easy, it's simplified. If they want to, let's say, expand on their services, maybe they want to sell something new, and they want to add a new revenue stream. This gives them a few top-level options, so unit sales, billable hours for services, revenue only, that will give them just like an entry mode where they can just plug in raw data. And then we even have one for subscription services as well for forecasting those. They did unit sales. This would give them an option to forecast the amount of units that they're selling. And so they can plug these in. So, you can adjust these 30, 35. You can even sort of just click around in this. So that gives you a little quick, easy way to change these. And then set the unit prices, save and close. And then once they do that, the forecast will be adjusted. So each one of these areas within the forecast sort of behaves the same. So if they were to enter in their direct costs, for example, they want to set in their cost of goods sold, they can just go in here, add a direct cost, they can tie it to a revenue stream so that it will calculate their COGS based on the revenue stream data, so the units that are being sold or the service hours being billed. But again, it gives you just kind of the same options, and it's just as simple, just as easy to use. They can track and forecast personnel, so they can put in salaries and wages, as well as expenses, so they can plug all of that in. And then at the end, again, this gives them full forecast, profit and loss, balance sheet, and cash flow. So they can see what this looks like. And this is important. So, if you're working with your clients and they want to have an understanding of, you know their business goals, you know what they want to do, you know what that looks like, but maybe they don't really know what their cash flow situation is going to look like in 2 or 3 years. They don't know if they're going to remain profitable. They don't know, maybe they want to expand a business, expand the location. They want to see what that would do to their cash flow. Do they need financing for that, etc. So this financial forecast is key in giving them that type of understanding. And you can say, okay, based on how you're doing, and based on your goals moving forward, we can say, yes, you are cash flow positive, or if not, what things that you can do to adjust that, that will bring them up to that. And if we go back here, this was something I mentioned before, and there's a question about this, and I hope this sort of covers it. So the accounts receivable and accounts payable, this is all top level. So if I set this to 10%, that means every single revenue stream is being applied at 10%. So there's, it just basically looks at 10% of your total revenue. Same with days to get paid. Now there's no time periods on these. That's a question that's come up. If you can set custom time periods, whereas before this date, you're going to do 20% AR, but then after this date, it's going to be 25%. That's not an option just yet. Same thing on the accounts payable side. And then as well, we have the ability to turn on inventory. So that'll calculate their inventory balances for them based on their cost of goods sold. And again, financing, so they can plug in if they expect any type of investments or loans, and then we'll calculate their loan payments for them based on how those are set up. And same thing with the dashboard. These can all be printed as well. So you can generate financial reports for their forecast. So again, you'll have the same the same level of customization that you get in the dashboard is here. There's a cover page if you want to include that. And if you have co-branding turned on, the cover page will include your logo. And then you can choose some annual overview, and you can choose which tables get included within this. So again, profit and loss, balance sheet, cash flow, and they get that comparison within the dashboard. And another thing I'll note with the forecast, as you can see, you can have quite a few different financial forecasts. So you can have up to 10 forecasts. So this gives you a way to play around with kind of scenario analysis with your clients. So that way it's not just, okay, this is, perfect case scenario. We hope that you meet all these goals and we hope that this looks exactly like what you're going to do. You can actually play around with different scenarios. You can have an aggressive approach, conservative. That way, for your client, if something comes up, there's some hiccups, something like that, something that's unexpected. Well, really, it was expected. You planned for that type of variance. You have different plans for them, and you can show them, okay, based on that, if for our revenue projections, if we're not hitting what we forecasted, we'll still be okay. And when you create, I already have the 10 forecasts, so let me go in here and I'll show you what one of these looks like. So if we create a new forecast, we'll get a few options for developing that. So you can create a forecast from scratch if you just want nothing. You can create a forecast as a copy of an existing forecast. So that way, if you already have a forecast that's built out and all you want to do is, they ask, hey, what would it look like if I hired 2 new employees next month? And you want to show that to them, then you can do that. Or you can also create a forecast using their QuickBooks or Xero data. So if they already have this linked with Xero or QuickBooks Online, then that will give you that option to create that forecast based on that data. Again, that way you don't have to start from scratch. This will delete this. It's quite a bit of data in this demo account, so it's going to take a little bit of time. There we go. All right, and then this will have me go to a different one. So if I create a new one, again, we can see these options. So use QuickBooks data, start from scratch, create an existing one. And then let's just go into the benchmark data here a little bit more. And then after this, I'll stop. I can't see the questions, but I can see a little flashing notification. So we can stop for questions. I'm sure a bunch have come up. So these are some of the KPIs and benchmark data that we offer. So gross margin, operating margin, net profit margin. We have some of the profit stuff. We also have like productivity measures, monthly revenue per employee, percentage of revenue spent on rent, on marketing, on payroll, current ratio, things like that. And these are broken down by their industry. Again, if you know their NAICS code, you can just plug it in. Or if you don't, like let's say, this was, let's just say retail. So you can just plug in a keyword. So department stores, discount department stores, hardware stores, electric stores, electronic stores. We'll pull all that up. So if we select one of these, it'll then ask us to choose the region. Again, this is just US data. You can choose the entire US if you want to look at the whole kind of macro level, or you can choose a specific region. So we can keep this at Western US, and then we'll choose the company size. So in terms of annual revenue, hit I'm done, then it'll populate the data. Obviously, this forecast is developed with the mindset of a bike store, so these aren't going to match. But this would give you an idea to say, okay, typically within your industry, like when you're small, you're just starting off in this industry, there is going to be a negative net profit margin. That's just normal. And so if they're worried about that, if they're developing a forecast and it's showing that, you can say, no, don't worry, that's normal. In a lot of cases, and we'll see if this is true, once you go and you kind of show them, okay, right. So once we continue to grow, don't worry, you'll become profitable. And that's normal within your industry to experience that when you're starting off. But as you continue to grow, you become profitable and you'll turn a profit. And then this will allow you to choose to compare when you get the what region or what time region for the benchmark data. I did want to stop there. If we have any questions.
Yep, we do. So Dominique, she is loving what she's seen so far, and's got questions to challenge you and some comments too, which is great. So she's got Canada has KPI available on the Canada.ca site. So this is for everybody, and then I guess for yourself if they want to be able to pull from there. So she says it would be good to be able to load it at the country level. What is financial performance data? And then she just answers it. So financial performance data provides access to more than 1,000 industries across Canada, including more than 30 performance benchmarks to help small businesses determine how they measure to their competitor. Excuse me. So there's a link to that. So she shared that out in the chat. So if anybody wants to take a look and grab that, and then I guess, for yourself, if that's something that they can build in, here's the information to be able to do that. So then she said that the 2017 financial performance data sets, distribution by total revenue and profit margin are available as open data on the Open Canada website, which is kind of cool, because if it's open data, that may be easy then, Joey, for the programmers to pull that out. She's provided the link to that, which again, she's done that in chat, so anybody can grab that from chat. And then she's got more information on the reports, are representative of all businesses operating within specified industry, geographic areas. Data users are cautioned when comparing data from the financial performance data with other departmental data. So I guess, there was a big note in there. She's put that in both. And again, a link to the Open Canada website. So that's there. So now specifically question to the product. Can we compare what if scenarios, for example, minimum, max, most likely? But I think that was answered.
Yeah, so there is scenario analysis that's put in. Now, if you want to, this question comes up, and this might be a natural follow-up to this, is there's not a way to compare forecasts within LivePlan, if that makes sense. Like, you can't run a comparison profit and loss between two different forecasts, at least not within the software. You can print them off, obviously, but you can't see them side by side. But yes, you would get a scenario analysis within this, again, up to 10 financial forecasts per business plan or per plan.
Perfect. Okay. And then next question. So there's 3 here. Can we export the forecast data to Excel to create a varying chart type and comparisons?
There's not a direct Excel option. So forecast and dashboard data cannot be imported or exported to Excel currently.
Okay. Perfect. And then Dominica said, just a comment, that looks like a very mature and extensive financial forecasting and modeling system. Nicely done. And then Deb Walker has asked if we can include the links in the email because she can't seem to copy and paste. I absolutely will make sure to do that, so everybody will get the links that Dominique's provided. Absolutely. And thank you so much for that, Dominique. That was great information. Okay, we're caught up to questions to date. So
perfect. So we have about 15 minutes or so. The other areas of the software we can kind of cover just a little bit of a glance. Again, forecast, benchmark, dashboard, that's going to be the bread and butter of this. Where you're going to be spending a lot of your time. The other area maybe is the pitch. Like I said, this is probably where you would start with your client just briefly after you have the first meeting, once you identify their goals. If you want to kind of develop a lean plan for them and show them, and this is kind of nice to just show them, right? Like it shows that you understand their business. It shows that you know what they're trying to do. It looks professional, looks great. You can kind of just show them at a glance and say, okay, this is what you're currently doing. This is your problem we're solving. I looked at based on who you're selling to, this is your target market in your area. These are your competitors. Maybe if they need funding right now in their business, you can put that in. This is optional, so you can remove that. And you can look at their sales and marketing strategies, their forecast. So this has lists right now. This can pull forecast data and just generate a few charts as well. And then you can put in their team and key roles, partners, and resources. And this is all customizable. So this is what it looks like. You can put in, their logo, partner resources, logos, team and key roles, all of that. So it is kind of nice to develop, and it looks professional. It's something that you can build for them and show them. But most of the time, again, forecast, benchmark, dashboard, that's the real kind of bread and butter of this. So I know as part of this, it's not just, I didn't want to just give a software demo and just cover the software because, we have a 90-day free trial. This is something that you guys can learn on your own and all of that. I did want to, more importantly, I wanted to talk about this LivePlan method that we've developed. So this is the approach towards, okay, we have this great platform and, I've shown you what it can do, but what does it actually look like to use this with a client? And so we developed a program for that. And I kind of wanted to show that and show you guys what that looks like. So let's go here. And let's go back here. Perfect. Okay. So this is LivePlan method for strategic advisors. So LivePlan, it's a customer-facing application, so small business owner can sign up. Well, we have a program that is specifically for those looking to provide business advisory services. And that is, it comes with a free 3-month trial, so 90-day time period to evaluate it. We have training and certification options. So there is a self-study training option. We have some more hands-on training available as well, including a boot camp that's coming up that I'll mention towards the end. And so we have the LivePlan method training that's all online. You can do that. It's an optional paid training program. There's certification as well, so you can become LivePlan certified. And with that, we have what we call an expert advisory directory, that you can become listed on. So when, most of our users, we have over 500,000 users. Most of them are small business owners who are planning their business. When they're looking for advice, when they're looking to make that next step, they know they need an accountant, they know they need a bookkeeper, they know they need a coach, an advisor. They're asking us questions we can't answer. We point them to this expert advisor directory. So it is a way to get leads from that. And we've been doing a lot of work on expanding that, which we just did a whole redesign for the website, and we're always making improvements right now for it. And part of our program and part of our plan for the directory is to start marketing it heavily to our users. So right now, we don't market it all that much, and we wanted to kind of do our redesign first and get that situated. And then we are going to start marketing a lot more, getting a lot more traffic to that. So, if you're looking for leads, that can be a great source for that. And then we do offer support specifically for our strategic advisors. So there's in-product support, there's a chat, there's a phone number that you can call, and then we have a specific mailbox for support as well. And then this will go into the next poll question. So before I cover the LivePlan method too much, we can stop for the second poll question.
Perfect. Okay, and pulling too much. So, what type of training opportunities do you prefer? Webinars, live trainings, so boot camps and seminars, or self-paced training, including recording videos, online classes, and etc. So we'll just give some time. I know I like each for their own reasons, and some it's also some difficult for each. So with me, it kind of depends on the day, the situation.
That is true. That is true.
Sometimes I love self-paced, but sometimes it's really difficult to get back and get in because other things tend to take priority. You need to be really disciplined for that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I guess I should have included a fourth option of a combination of some of the.
Yeah, but how are you going to combine that? It's really hard to figure that out. So, all right, so we're 80% voted, so we'll give 10 more seconds here. So again, what type of training opportunities do you prefer? Webinars, live training, or self-paced? And then we'll count down. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll end the polling. And then I'll just share the results here so you can see. So 35% like the webinars, 15% like the live training, and 50% are self-paced.
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay. So there's 2 questions that have come in. I don't know if you want to wait, just hold those to the end, or just grab those now.
We can grab those now.
Okay, perfect. So that's, can you expand on the lean plan for non-savvy micro business owners? And just, for example, like how to pare down the data to make it easy to understand for them.
Yeah, so let me go back and we can kind of jump in here. So I assume they're talking about this pitch. So, right, if you're working with someone who doesn't really know maybe some of the stuff like target market, maybe they don't have a good understanding of their competitors, some of this is just really going to be asking a lot of identifying questions. So, and in fact, really, the software kind of does it for you a little bit. It'll ask you, it'll explain some of these and kind of show them. But, if they don't have a good understanding of maybe like they've never had to define their opportunity. They've never had to think about their target market and segment it and all of that. Well, it can be, there are ways that you can simplify it with them. You can really just kind of look and say, okay, well, on a typical day, who do you sell to, or who are you trying to sell to, right? In the case of Garrett, he knows that, right, he's selling bikes, so maybe that's all he thinks about. But, he knows he's located near universities, so obviously there's going to be college students. He knows that there's going to be different enthusiasm levels, and so he can kind of do it based on that. And then, he can think about his competitors in the area. Obviously, that's something he probably knows about. And then like the sales channel and marketing activities, again, maybe these are things that he doesn't really think about, but he's probably doing at some degree. So, if you just ask him, okay, well, how do you want to get the word of your business out? What do you want to do? How do you want to do that? Maybe his sales channel, maybe all he thinks about is, well, I just sell in person. That's all I do. I don't, maybe in his case, he doesn't have a website. And you can say, well, okay, what do you sell specifically, or what do you want to sell? Would you ever want to develop a website? Like, is there a way to expand on that? So a lot of this will come from, and this is kind of part of the LivePlan method. We have some scripts and some questions that you can, and there are some resources that I can point you guys to that have some of these questions. But a lot of this will come in those initial meetings that you have in terms of identifying their business goals with them and identifying, how their business would run and all of that. And we have some questions that can get down to like the root of that so that they can develop this. And this is optional. So this doesn't, you don't need to do this necessarily, but it can be important, or you don't need to do all of this, but it can be important to at least understand their goals, what they're doing, and who their competitors are, things like that.
Okay, perfect. And then just kind of another quick question here that I know you already very briefly touched upon. So just what is the Pro Advisor offer? So like, for example, because I saw you said that, 120 billed annually, but for the Pro Advisor, is our plan free right off the get-go? Is it free only with, so many? So how do you have that bundled?
Sure. Yeah. So there's not necessarily a plan specifically for Pro Advisors. I guess the Strategic Advisor plan is, supposed to be with it's kind of like for the Pro Advisor and all of that. So this is not something that a regular user has access to, this type of pricing model. So a regular user would pay $20 a month or about $140 a year, and their account will be very, very limited. So it would only come with one license, 2 users. That's it. So with this, there's obviously the 90-day trial that comes with this, and then $120 per license, and your account already comes with 2 licenses. So it'll come with 2 licenses, and then there's an unlimited amount of users that you can have. And the idea here is that, each client would have their own license, and then you can invite them. And with the unlimited users, you can invite them, their partner, someone that wants to review their plan, whatever, or some, employees of yours as well if they want to work on this. So you're not billed based on the user.
Okay. Great.
Okay, so let's get back here and go into this idea of the LivePlan method. So again, this is thinking of the accountant as a strategic advisor. So we have this methodology, and this is a standardized approach towards offering advising services in LivePlan that you can apply with your clients. It's scalable, it's set, there's defined goals and expectations. We have scripts available, we have tasks available with this that we can show you guys, and a lot of that's available for free. And so the idea is you can apply the same approach, and it streamlines it, makes it easy to use. It can still be customized a little bit based on their needs, and there's going to be some of that, but it's scalable. And you don't have to do the work of developing this program. We've kind of developed a lot of it for you. So we already have this framework. So we start at the kickoff. Oops, and we don't have a lot of time, so I'll just cover these in brief and just kind of do top level. So this is kind of the LivePlan method at a glance, showing you guys what this process looks like. So the first 4 things are one-time events. So kickoff, planning, modeling, building, and then the ongoing thing, and this is where the monthly advising and selling this as an advising service that becomes the last stage of it, and that's where you're analyzing and then going back, changing some things, and having monthly meetings. There we go. Okay, so the first step here, kickoff meeting. This is where you're going to frame your relationship with them, set clear expectations in terms of what you're offering them, your services, all of that, and you're hooking them and selling them on this idea and concept of advising. So you're not just an accountant, you're not just a bookkeeper, what have you, you're a business advisor. And you're going to set expectations for your deliverables and your schedule. And it's important that they have a good understanding of your process up front, so that they can know what to expect, and that keeps you in the driver's seat for your relationship, which is really important. You want to be the one driving this. You don't want there to be any type of confusion or anything like that with your clients. So you're going to learn their business goals. And it's not just necessarily their financial goals, right? Like, everyone wants to make more profit. Everyone wants to increase their revenue, save on taxes, what have you. They're going to all have some of the same goals. It's really more about learning their business or personal goals. So do they want to expand to another location? Are they looking to hire new employees pretty soon? Are they working to work less? Maybe they do so much right now as the business owner, and they don't want to do all of that. It's just overwhelming. Maybe they want to hire a manager, something like that. You can understand these goals, and then you look at it and you say, okay, let's show you how hitting these financial goals will help you accomplish your personal or business goals. And so that's where this kickoff, you're learning all of that. Second stage of this is to start thinking about a plan. So that's where that lean plan comes in. You want to establish their business model, think about what they sell, how they're selling it, who they're selling it to, really what are they offering, what are they doing, what is the problem in their market that they're trying to solve. And again, this all takes place in the pitch, and you want to get a good understanding of their target market, their customers, their key contributors, their partners, a lot of that. And so you're going to have to be asking a lot of questions to identify this information. Again, we have some of those questions, and we have like scripts that you can use with them for this. I know we're a little over, so I'm going to cover the last two slides very quickly. Model phase. So this is where you're going to be taking in their historical data, you're going to analyze it, and you're going to be looking at growth patterns and ratios. So you're probably going to need the last 3 to 5 years of their P&L, balance sheet, or cash flow statement. So they have all that data. That's great. If they don't, if they haven't been in business that long, if they don't have historicals, maybe they don't have great accounting data, you'll want to have a very in-depth conversation and meeting with your client to understand their business and get whatever financial data you can from them, because it's going to be really important that you understand what they've done in the past. You're analyzing trends, and you're looking for growth opportunities. You're looking for trends in their industry, seasonality, things like that. And that will help you develop this financial forecast. And so the whole goal of this, establish growth patterns, getting a general overview of their revenue, expenses, COGS, and their categories for that, and how they track that at a top level. So maybe they have 50 income accounts, but really, think about their categorization. If they're really selling only through 10 channels, then each channel can be a forecast item. So it's not all about getting all of those income accounts in the forecast. Next phase here is the build phase. So this is where you actually build the financial forecast with them. So you're going to be building P&L, cash flow, balance sheet. It's all going to be available for them. And this is where you take that data that you got, that you analyze from them, and you bring it together and you develop a financial roadmap for them. And you keep in mind the drivers of their business and their goals. So if they've outlined some of their goals, bake that into the forecast. If they say, I want to hire new employees, make a forecast that has 5 new employees, a couple new employees. Or if they said, I'm doing too much, I'm so stressed, then you can say, well, okay, let's hire a manager, or let's bring, Bob that you already have, let's bring him on as a manager. And then you can show them, like, look, you'll still be profitable. You don't have to worry about that. So now you're taking their business goals and you're showing them what that looks like in the financial forecast. And then here's one important thing is have multiple forecasts. That's going to be big because, again, best case scenario, yeah, it would look great if it always went according to plan, but that's probably not going to happen. There's going to be speed bumps. There's going to be things that unexpected things that'll pop up. You want to plan for those. And you want to instill that confidence in your client that you have a plan for that. So you can say, okay, look, this is best case scenario, but even if we don't hit that, let's look at a conservative approach. And you show them that and you say, look, even if you're not hitting all of your goals, you can still be profitable. Or, maybe if your cash flow dips, look, we can take out a loan at this point, and that'll help you get you through that in case there is a rough patch. And so your client has that confidence in you that, you have this all planned out, right? And then based on all of that comes the last phase of this. So the advising phase, this is where your meetings come in. This is where you're helping them to make business decisions based on their goals, based on their forecast. This is, what you're delivering for them. This is how you're going to be making the money. So you're going to be using the dashboard to build out the reports, and you're going to be showing them to them so that they can see, okay, based on how this is how I'm actually doing. This is, am I on track to meet my goals? Does my forecast look good? If not, you're analyzing this with them. You're going over all this with them, and you're saying, okay, this month, didn't look so great. Let's readjust, right? What happened, and really get at not just on the financial side, okay, your expenses were down or your expenses were up, your revenue's down, yada, yada, but understand the drivers that led to that. Understand, okay, is accounts payable very high this month? Like, are we not collecting on that? Why not? Our expenses a lot higher this month. What happened? What happened there? Revenue is down. Like, look at it in a sales channel, in an individual sales channel, understand where that came from, and say, okay, in the case of Garrett, like, you're not selling as many used bikes as you normally do. Why is that? Do we need to market that a little bit more? Or, do we need to have like a display out front? Something like that, so you can understand those. So it's not just on the financial side, you're looking at the actual drivers of all of that. And then again, you're going back, you're readjusting their goals, readjusting their forecast based on the new information, and you're having these be a monthly or quarterly meeting. We'd probably say monthly meeting is probably best, but this can be delivered on a quarterly basis, and you're giving them reports so that you have take-homes for them. That is LivePlan method at a very quick glance, very quick. And then I'll cover last, but definitely not least, so some of the additional resources that we have. So I don't think I sent a link for this, but I can get that sent out. So we have some free resource guides that, again, they go through all of these phases. So you can see like the kickoff phase, and they have these set as tasks, the predefined tasks of here's what to do with that. So you're setting up, you're connecting with QBOs, in the kickoff. You're doing all this stuff before you even have that initial meeting, and then you're hosting the kickoff meeting, and then, okay, during the kickoff meeting, we have agendas for you to use. So these we have scripts as well, some examples that you can use with them. And then it's just kind of, this is like the type of information that you want to gather from them during this phase. So we have these materials, these are all free. So we have those for each phase of the LivePlan method. And then let's skip to the last slide. I wanted to cover this. So we do also, this is a new thing, and this is why I asked about the training opportunities. So as part of this, we want to offer, not just the software, but training as well. We want to teach. We have online training. We have self-paced training. We have a monthly webinar series that we do for best practices that cover not just the software, but other things in the industry. Like we just had one with our marketing director where he went through and showed like, good website design, SEO optimization, search engine optimization, and email campaigns, marketing campaigns. So we have some best practice webinars as well. And we also have coming up a live advisory services bootcamp. So this is available in this fall, October 2nd through the 4th in Eugene, Oregon, in case you want to travel. Eugene is beautiful. Hopefully it won't be raining in October. I can't make any promises. Usually we don't get rain until late October. So it's usually still a little bit sunny, a little bit warm, maybe in the 60s. We have 15 CPE credits available for this. And this covers the LivePlan method, how to use the software as an advising platform. But it goes beyond the software. It covers components of digital marketing, so website design, SEO, email marketing, We have information about engaging your clients, guiding your clients, how to run effective meetings, capacity planning, resource allocation. There's information about how to develop packages and pricing and strategies around that, how to actually sell this to your client. You know, even if you develop this and you know you want to offer advising, how do you actually sell it? You know, how do you get your clients on board? What do you price it at? How do you structure that? So we have all information about that. This landing page that we have, that should go out via email. And up until September 9th, I want to say, we have 30% off of that. So with code bootcamp30, brings it down to $696.50. And yeah, that is LivePlan and the LivePlan method at a glance. Sorry, I realized we went a little bit over. Probably didn't get to cover the LivePlan method as much as I wanted to. But yeah, these slides will be available as well, so you can look through these, and they have notes in them, so you can take a look at those.
Perfect. And then all of the links will go out with the email as well too. With the video, they'll all go out there. But Dominique, excuse me, has made sure she's got some of them in the chat for anybody to copy and paste. So that's great. Okay, so, and there was no other questions that came in. So I think that means that we answered them as we were going through. Was there a last minute chance for questions? Oh, there's some new messages here. Nope. Yep, just awesome webinar. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, looks like there's any questions. But of course, I'll be sending in again, all the information, all the links. So if there's any questions, feel free to reach back out to Joe at LivePlan for anything else for sure. But like I say, he's given me a bunch of links to put in the email that'll go out with the recording. So perfect. Okay, great. Yeah, just a bunch of thank you, great webinar comments. So yeah, that's great. So it looks like that's everything. All right, well, thank you very much for your time today, Joey. And thank you everybody for coming. And then Joey, I guess we will chat with you on Wednesday.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks everybody. Take care. Have a great day and a great week. Bye.